I've also learned you just have to do things before you think you're ready. Yes, on the phone, I was not a problem. Got it. And then I hung up and was like, oh my God. And it's 20, it doesn't sound that crazy. 20 minutes is a long time on stage if you haven't done it before. 5 minutes starts to feel like, okay, like that now that, but 20, and it was great. I mean, I've learned you have to do things before you think you're ready. That's how you learn. And it's been a really good opportunity. I feel I've grown a lot as a comic, just having bigger venues and longer time on stage.
I'm 33 and I have a roommate. I used to have a roommate, I had my own place, but sometimes life goes But I think it's funny, whenever my friends started to get their own apartments, they would say things to me like, now that I live alone, I could never have a roommate. And I'm like, you could if you lost your job. But my roommate's cool. She's 91 years old. Yeah. I live with my great aunt. It's like having a normal age roommate, but when your roommate sneezes, you say, God bless you. When my roommate sneezes, I'm like, did I just inherit this apartment?
What does it actually take to build a career in comedy? Not the version you see on stage, the version behind it. The open mics, the quiet rooms, the second guessing, and the moments in your life that slowly start to turn into something you can use. In this episode, I sit down with Nancy O'Connor, a stand-up comedian who is in the middle of building it. Not after it's figured out, while it's still taking shape. We talk about where her material comes from growing up in a big family where being heard wasn't always easy, to conversations with her dad that still show up in her work, to living with her 91-year-old great aunt, and realizing that some of the best observations don't come from a stage, they come from everyday life. There's a thread through all of it that I think matters, especially if you're building anything. Your voice doesn't show up all at once. It gets shaped over time, through real moments, through tension, and through paying attention to what's right in front of you. And Nancy is doing that in real time. My name is Justin Ahrens, and this is Design Of, a show about how people design their life, their work, and their impact. And today, we're talking about what it looks like to find your voice in real time. Nancy, thank you for joining the show. And for people who don't know, it's taken a while. It's on me. So I apologize for being the lack of scheduling master. How are you today?
How are you? It was a crazy time of year. So
yeah.
No worries.
Yeah. Well, we share a mutual person in our life. And let's just get this out of the way right now. And that's your dad. Is there a bigger goofball in your life? Oh, there's got to be. But he's got to be one of the top goofballs in your life.
For sure. Yes. Yeah. He's definitely probably the funniest guy I know.
Oh, we're going to publish that? We're going to say that on the show?
I know he's going to be listening in the beginning, so I'll get that out for him. And then
Right. So this is for your dad. Ted, you can now turn this off. We just did the highlight of you in the beginning. Well, thank you for being on the show. I can't wait to dig into your story. So let's talk about a little bit about just young Nancy. So you're part of a big old Irish family.
Yes, I'm one of 6 kids, Irish Catholic, and I'm the 5th of 6. I feel like people are always interested in the birth order.
Yeah.
So lower end of the group.
Lower end, but that doesn't mean lower quality. I mean, come on.
Definitely not.
You're probably the favorite, right? Who's the favorite?
We joke that it's our brother Teddy. And we don't blame them. We're like, he's great. Honestly, okay. We get it. But no, it probably changes. I feel like everyone has a certain season that they're in the favorite.
Right. The easiest, it's funny. Yeah. My wife comes from a big family and her mom would never pick. But the theory is the favorite child is the one that's maybe the easiest child at the moment.
Right. Yes.
But who knows? Well,
and we always used to joke, who's my parents' background of their phone. But now that there's grandkids, it's just, there's not a hope for any of us.
Well, tell me that upbringing, right? Because there's, again, when I'm with your dad, I don't know if 5 minutes go by where we're not cracking up or making fun of each other. So it sounds a little stereotypical from an Irish family, but how did that impact what you're doing now?
I mean, I think it definitely had, there's definitely a reason. I feel like there's 6 of us. Everyone, my dad has a great sense of humor, as you know, really good storyteller. So I feel like I developed good storytelling skills at a young age. Because if at dinner, there's 8 of us at the table, You don't have a lot of airtime. Like, you got to bring your best stuff or they're going to move on to someone else. So I feel like the storytelling and like liking the attention and wanting to like is because of that. Also, my dad is a big laugher. Like, I was just telling somebody recently, like, laughing in church was like a real issue as kids. And it's like my dad would be part of it too. Like, he would.
Like, give me an example. I mean, would it be something your mom would get mad at him because he's laughing in church?
Like, she would be like, it's like, I feel like when you're in church or whatever, where you can't laugh, things are 10 times funnier. So I just have so many memories, like something little happens, we'd start to laugh. And then like once my dad got going, we were like, it's over. And my mom was like, stop. And when I was in 6th grade, I had to present like a math thing. We'd worked on it was like a group of 3 of us. Parents came in, it was like a huge deal. I started laughing in the presentation and it could have I think I could have come back from it, but then my dad started laughing and he had to leave and it was just over. So I was like to my teacher, I'm like, you can't even look where I get it from. Like, this is...
I mean, how can you possibly get mad at me? I mean, it's in my DNA, right?
Exactly. Anyway, so laughter was like a huge part. It still is a huge part of our family. Like, we're always cracking up. So I feel like that had something to do with me getting into comedy. I'm sure. Well,
it's funny. Your dad is one of 2 people in my life that laugh with their whole body. You know, it's like the face, the belly, the whole body. And then it just can't, even if it's a joke at you, it's really hard not to laugh about it, which is annoying.
100%.
So
100%.
Was humor kind of a survival, or like, again, to your point, a way to get your voice out there, you know, like around the dinner table, whatever else?
I mean, I think so. Like, I think subconsciously it was like when I tell a funny story, you get like a lot of attention, like not even just in family, but like with friends. And then, we just like humor was just a huge part of our life. Like, just loved, my mom is more reserved than my dad, but it's a really rewarding laugh when you get it. So I feel like I was always trying to make her laugh.
I love it. So you're a part of this large family. So kind of walk me through, you know, did you know early on that you might want to be a comic, or how did you go from, you know, doing bits around the dinner table to, you know, I'm going to try this?
Yeah, I did not think I think I was aware of people tell me I'm funny, but like that, like I never thought of like actually using it until after college. I was living in New York and I had like a corporate job and I was like, this is not my
What'd you go to college for?
English.
Okay, and then you wanted to do what?
And then, I just was like, I want to get a job. Like, you know, You're like out of college and you're like panicked. So I got a job in like marketing, like advertising basically, but not like not very creative. It was like ad buying and sales. And so I remember like I just sitting at a desk, I was like, I need to do something outside of this. So I took an improv class and I loved it. But I didn't think I was very good at it because I was like laughing the whole time, you know, like I wasn't keeping a straight face. But I really liked that. So then I started taking like writing classes, and I didn't start stand up so I took the improv class probably when I was like 24. I didn't start stand up until I was 30.
Wow.
And I was just like, I always thought people had said like, you should try it. And I just thought it was like the most cringy, embarrassing thing, which like it kind of is at times. So I was very hesitant. And then I was like, before I turn 30, I'm just going to like try it. And I thought I would go to an open mic, but I ended up taking a class because like I know that I need like the pressure to actually do it. So that's when I started stand up. And then from the class, I was like, oh, I feel like this is something I could do and like want to do.
Okay. So let's try this. Let's see do you remember the first, like either like the first official time you did stand up? What was that? What was that like?
I will give you 2 examples because they're important. I was in a class, which is a very safe environment. So like you get up, everyone's very warm. And so it was really good because you feel confident and you're building out 5 minutes. Then I went to my first open mic and I didn't really know what an open mic is, but it's just comedians practicing. And I mean, it was silence when I did my 5 minutes, which in my defense is kind of normal. But at the time I was like, oh my God. Like,
okay, wait a second. You're doing an open mic and it's silent. That seems opposite than what should happen, right?
Yeah, but like open mics are like people be like, ha, like that would be like, oh, that did well. Okay. So it's just like I thought in my delusion I was going to have this room in stitches.
Right.
So I remember I called my mom after and I was like, I'll do the graduation show, which was at like a real comedy club. But I was like, but this is not going anywhere. And then the graduation show was really, I feel like the first time I did it in front of an audience. And I was like so nervous before, but it was unbelievable feeling. I was calm when I got on stage. I loved it after. I was like, it's been humbling since then. But
did you slay at graduation?
Yes. I mean, I had 40 friends and family in the audience. Like, I don't know if it was like a realistic, like I was like, people say this is hard. And it's been hard since then, but it was a very good introduction because I was like, this is unbelievable.
All right. So the time from you doing your pseudo marketing job to, going to being a comedian, what was your conversation like with your parents? I mean, obviously you're an adult, you can do whatever you want, but I know you guys are all really close.
Yeah, I mean, they've always like encouraged me to like test out things, but like, I mean, I continued to have like day jobs and stuff to support this, to be clear. They might change their tune if I was like, I'm gonna quit everything. Yeah. Yes. But no, they've always been very supportive, and they were like, find something you're passionate about. They are very, like, they came to the first 10 shows I ever did. They still come all the time. Very supportive.
Oh, that's awesome. So part of this, if I just got to be vulnerable, in my mind, I feel that I would do okay. I've always wanted to do an open mic. And at the same time, it's like I sort of want to do it and bomb hard to know what that feels like. And then I also want to do it and get a couple people laughing. But there's a part of stand-up that I find just so exciting and mysterious. And it's not necessarily the doing of the comedy. It's, I'd love to know, like, how do you go about and framing your bit and like, creating 5 minutes? 'Cause I think people think you just go up there and you just crank it out, but it's a process, right?
No, it's like, if it's done well, it looks like it's like you're thinking of it on the spot, but no, it's like you have to work things. It's really hard, like, honestly. But the hardest part for me is that I came in being like, I have a lot of funny stories I want to tell. Like, I have so much material that I want to do. And what you learn is like, things don't translate as well on stage as something like, so as much as you want to write things out and get like the words perfect, you have to just deliver it in order to do it. So that's like going to open mics. It didn't work that time. Sometimes it's not as straightforward. Sometimes it works really well one night and not the next. So you're just like continually to test it out and see like, does this delivery work better? Does this, changing the words to this work better? Because it's like the best comedians make it look so effortless, but behind it is like hours and hours of like workshopping like 5 minutes.
Yeah, well, give me an example of a story that you thought would absolutely crush in the beginning, and maybe it does now, but what was that like, and how did you adjust it, or how did you shift it?
Yes, I have many examples I can think of. I had this bit, I still do, it's been workshop, but it's about my dad, so I think you'll appreciate it. It's about like years ago, I think it was during COVID, we like had something wrong with our toilet, and the plumber showed up, and it was like a female plumber, and I thought it was so funny because it was like, my dad was so shocked. Like,
that it was a female plumber. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, it was just, and like my mom was like, I should have warned him. And I just thought the premise was so funny. Like that, like my parents are like, they're very progressive. They've gone on board. But like I found their limit, and it was like a female plumber. I didn't really workshop. Like so I just delivered the story, and it was just like, what? And, tumbleweeds going by. And that was kind of early on, where I just thought like, oh, this is a funny thing that happened. Let me tell it on stage. And then you're like, no, you need to like build up. So I still do it, but it's more like framing it as like, my parents, they've come a long way, but I found their limit. And then it's like, so that's like one example. I'm trying to think of another that's like bombed on stage. I should have a lot.
Well, let's structure it this way, because this is one of the things. So I love comedy, and I've been so excited to talk to you. Like, I remember when your dad told me that you were doing this, I actually had more questions about the forming of your story on stage. Because to me, I think that has to be, in my mind, I feel like however you do it, I'd love to hear your process, like how you write down things to remember. And then you start putting these like ingredients together, right? To make this moment or this story. And to your point, I think I have a lot of stories, but I wouldn't even know, like how to build that up. So what is your process? Like, how do you observe things and put that sort of thing together?
Yeah, a lot of people have different writing methods. A lot of people sit down and write whatever. I can't force myself to, because if it's not like feeling anything, nothing comes out. I'm big in the notes app on my phone. Like if you read those, you'd be like, it's like groceries and then it's like a random bit. But so when I think of something like that could be funny, I'll write it down in the notes app. Or like even if you're in a conversation with somebody and somebody's laughing really hard at something, in my head, I'm like, oh, could that be something? So I'll write those down. And then I try to
be anywhere, anytime, just life.
Anywhere. Yes. Yeah. Like I have one from like yesterday randomly.
All right, let's go. You got notes app? Let me hear it.
Yeah, like yesterday I wrote this down because I thought it was funny that I dated a guy once who was like scared of dogs, and I didn't think it would be a problem until like I saw it in action. Yeah. So I just wrote down, like, it's just random ideas and lines that I think could be funny talking about that on stage.
I mean, I thought that there was just funny, just that concept. Yeah.
And like this is another one talking about the presidential test. Do you guys remember that in school when they'd make us take like the mile run test? And
yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I had like a repressed memory, and I'm like, that was so weird. So anyway, they're all over these notes. And then I run an open mic every week in Brooklyn on Tuesday nights. So I try to like before then sit down and write out what I think this bit is. And then the open mic is really just like throwing things at the wall and seeing what gets like a reaction or a little laugh. And then you start to develop from there.
On Hinge, haven't had a lot of success. So one of my friends was like, Nancy, I know your problem, okay? You're not that tall. You need to open up your height settings, get a few more guys. So I was like, okay, I have nothing against a short guy. So I went into Hinge to see what my current height parameters were set to. And it was 3 feet to 7 feet. I was like, I'm sorry, do I need to go into the twos?
Well, I remember Dave Chappelle, he was talking about his writing style, and he did a whole show based around this concept of he writes this bit or this line, he puts it in a fishbowl, and then he'll pull it out, and then he'll try to write a show getting to that line. Mm-hmm. And I thought, even if that was, quote unquote, a gimmick to frame the show, it was it captivated you, at least for me, because I'm like, okay, where is this line going to come in,
Yeah.
And so it was really interesting. Do you think you could ever get your dad to go on stage?
Oh, that's a great question.
Or which of your siblings do you think would do it?
So my brother Teddy, he's a doctor, he's an anesthesiologist, he is a father, he's very busy. He and I write together a lot. Undisputed the funniest in our family.
Teddy?
Yeah.
Nice.
And he has a lot of ideas. I don't know if he would, I don't know if he would, but like, I feel like he would be the closest to, like, he definitely has the brain to like, this could be a bit and doing that. My dad.
He's like the SNL writer for you, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
My dad, I don't know if he would. I honestly don't. I think he could do well, but I feel like he would be like, yeah, I don't know, which is fair.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to put this out there. I'm going to say when we get this show out there that he and I maybe should meet in Brooklyn for an open mic.
I mean, Tuesday nights.
Yeah.
You get 3 minutes. I'll light you at 2. Your best stuff.
So where do your bits, I mean, you talked about you writing things down, you observe, but where do your bits, you think, usually begin? Is it something that like annoys you, embarrasses you, something you can't stop thinking about, or is it kind of all over the board?
Over the board. The theme of our open mic is called Yikes, and we encourage people to share like a yikes moment that's happened. So a lot of times in sharing that, you're like, oh, this could be a bit, something embarrassing. Things that annoy me, definitely. Like if you're annoyed by something, you're like, let me write this out, and this could be funny if it's like a shared experience. I don't know if my dad told you, but I live with my great aunt who's 91. So a lot of material comes from that.
He did. Actually, I was going to ask you a question because I think when we talked, or maybe I read about this when I was researching you, 2 sources of material are potentially your 91-year-old aunt and you're dating in New York.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I've been working on a pilot with that premise. And now I'm taking like a grad course through UCLA and writing it. And the material, it writes itself.
Yeah. Well, talk more about that. Like, how did you get to become a roommate to your 91-year-old aunt?
So I was living in Midtown in New York. I got like a COVID deal for this apartment that I loved. We'd always been close-ish. Like we'd go to mass together. I'd have breakfast with her after. That was kind of our tradition. And then my rent was going up a ridiculous amount. And I was like, I don't really want to stay at this
So
apartment.
for those who don't know, like during COVID,
Yes.
New York rents were less because no one was working. Is that what it was? Then it started.
Yeah, like you could get these COVID deals. So you're like,
Okay.
oh, I got this great. And then it was like the year after the rents. I think my rent was going up like 50%. Like it was a crazy number. And I was like, this is illegal. And they're like, it's not. And I was like, all right. And so I thought I was like traveling that summer. So I said to her, like, we'd gotten very close. Like, maybe I will move in with you for the summer if it's okay, and then figure it out. And that was 2.5 years ago. And I mean, she's hilarious. We've gotten very close. I mean, it's hard. Like she's slowing down. She's 90. She'll be 92 next month. But she, like, not as much now, but she would come to like as many comedy shows as she could. Actually, there's a story. The guy who handles her finances called her son and was like, I'm going to cancel her card because there's a charge to a comedy club. Like, what 90-year-old is at a comedy club? And they're like, no, like she does go. Those charges. Yeah, it's been like a weird thing that happened, but it's been like a blessing, and she's great.
Awesome.
And I'm not saying it did it for my material, but a lot of material has come from it. So
Yeah. Well, do you have any like just examples or like some framework where, you know, when you started living with her, you're like, oh my gosh, I have to explore this?
She is like devoutly Catholic. I grew up Catholic as well, but we would go on Sunday. She goes every day. And she would bring me there would be like a weekly, it's not like a Bible study, but one type of those things. And she'd always invite me, and I would go sometimes. And then
Because she invited you, or do you wanted to go?
Not because I wanted to go, because she invited me, and I was like, it's just like I would go anywhere with her.
Yeah.
But there was one time she's like, I really want you to go to see this new priest. And I'm like, okay, she's really pushing it hard. And I went, and it was like an attractive young priest. And it was like the room had never been more full. And I was like cracking up. And I'm like, this is why you want to go. Anyway, the session was on confession, and she like told me she hasn't been to confession in a while. So we went together, and preparing for it and going together was just like so funny. That's when I'm like, this is a TV show.
Yeah.
And there's just been like a million. Like I got laid off from my job when I was with her, and I worked remotely. So I was like kind of like doing my own schedule, and she would always want to go and get our nails done. And I was leaving to get our nails done, and I got an email that was like, you got laid off, which also like is like fair because I was leaving to go to a nail appointment.
In the middle of the day.
Yeah. And then we were like at the nail appointment. She's like telling the person doing my nails, like she just lost her job, but she's doing comedy. And it was so funny. So there's been a million of those.
Yeah. So when did you feel comfortable, and or maybe you don't, but when someone asks you what do you say I'm a comedian now?
I'm like still kind of like, yeah, like I've gotten more comfortable with it. Yeah, like I'm like, I do stand-up comedy. I don't know if I'm like still like, I'm a comedian.
Yeah. So when you tell someone that, does the room change? Like they're like, okay, be funny.
I hate when people are like, so tell me a joke. I hate that. Yes, there's a lot of that. Or like a lot of like on dates and guys being like, oh, are you going to like use me? You know, and I'm like, don't flatter yourself that there'll be anything from here that's usable. Yeah, people are always like, tell me a joke. A lot of people, honestly, the biggest thing is people are like, that's my biggest nightmare. I'm so impressed that you do that.
How does that make you feel?
I never said it was good.
Yeah, how does that make you feel though when someone goes, oh, it's my nightmare? Hope you're good.
Yeah. I mean, I understand. Before the first time I went on stage, I was like, I was walking to the show and I was like, I want to be like hit by a car in like not in a serious way and like enough to take me out, but like I'll recover. So I totally understand why people are like, why would you ever want to do that?
One of the funniest people in my life, his name's JJ Peterson. And he did comedy, but he also did some like bit acting. Like he was on a bunch of shows. You know, he was like the guy that raised his hand in the room, like on Seinfeld or whatever else. Mm-hmm. And he hated that question. So we would always ask him, all right, JJ, be funny. And he would start laughing and he wouldn't have to say a thing and then we'd all be in stitches. And so in our mind, we're thinking he's always saying something funny. But it's like if your dad just instantly started laughing, right? You're just like, oh, that makes me feel so happy inside.
Yeah, it's just contagious.
So what's the difference? I mean, some people might have this question too. And I was like, what's the difference about, to you, or how would you explain it if you can, between being funny with friends and then being funny on stage?
Yeah, it's just much harder on stage. Like first off, with friends, at least in my method, telling a story, like put as many words as you can in there, like make it extra long. On stage, it's like the real estate of words. You really have to think about it because you only have so much time, so you want to get the audience. And on stage, you really need usually like a misdirect or a surprise or like tools that really will like surprise the audience, which you don't need as much in like a conversation with friends.
Yeah.
So it's just so much harder, honestly. But it's a good I like the challenge. I like having a story or something that's really funny with friends and like how can you use this on stage? And sometimes it's just like you don't have enough time to tell a story, because if the intro is like 3 minutes before it gets really funny, like you lose them a little bit, like their attention span. They're not your friends,
Right. They're not going to give you extra grace.
Exactly. So you got to like get in quickly.
Do you ever find yourself subconsciously, like with family or friends, like just going into a bit or your show and just telling a joke and be like, wait, I'm not on stage?
I think I treat a lot of conversations as like, let me see if I can get them to laugh. And in my head, it's kind of an annoying quality because it's like after, if they're laughing, I'm like back in my notes app, like, wait, this could.
I crushed. Yeah.
But I don't think that's anything new. I think I've always I love to tell a story. And always my family, like our sense of humor is very like beat a dead horse, like things that happened 20 years ago, we still bring up and it's like, it's more exaggerated now. It's on a, like we can't get away with a lot in our family. So it's not like I'm doing anything different than anyone else's in the group.
There's a story your dad said or tells that I purposely try not to remember in the details so I can make him tell it again. But it's like when your grandmother, your grandmother died and all of them started laughing. And it was like the most inappropriate time to be laughing. But yet that's the way you actually were loving your grandmother and his mother, right? Like just being together as family. And I'm in stitches by the time he's done.
I know.
I love stuff like that.
I was just telling somebody this story because, there was a time, it was like a 4-month time, a lot of like people in our family, it was a very tragic time for our family. Like he lost both his parents, like a lot was going on. And it kind of felt like we were doing the same thing. Like we had like 4 funerals and like something. And it was my grandmother, her name was Nancy, it was named after her. And we were all waiting in the church before we were supposed to process in, and we all just burst out laughing. And I think it was just like, it was not funny, but it was just like the tension. And it was like, it's a very
go somewhere, right? Yeah.
Representation. Yeah. So laughing at inappropriate times has been most of my childhood.
Well, tell me, like, I'm sure it's every comedian says they've bombed, right? So I'm going to assume you've bombed. And in that space, outside of probably feeling like you're on an island or naked or whatever that the metaphor you want to use, what do you walk away from that experience with?
I think the first time you bomb, whatever your definition of that is, it's a bad feeling and it's hard to come back from, but you build an immunity to it. Like now it's just like, oh, okay, I learned something from that. Or like, I still finished my set, like that's something to be proud of. So you just like learn from doing it. Everyone bombs, like even the funniest people in the world bomb. I also think it's helpful. I have a lot of friends now in the like comedy. So just texting each other and being like, I just totally bombed. I did a show in the Poconos at like a dive bar that someone asked me to do. I didn't do a lot of research beforehand. And I don't think they advertised to the patrons of the bar that it was a comedy show. So it was just like people at a bar trying to talk to their friends and then us trying to do comedy, like a very bad formula for it. And there was a group of women that the whole time thought it was karaoke night. So they just kept asking when karaoke would start. And after that, I was like, I can do anything. Like if I survived getting through my set through that. So, and you learn from it, you pivot and you're like, okay, they're not interested in this. Why don't I talk to them? Or why don't I do something else? So everything, you always like, even if it's terrible, you learn something or there's something you can take away from it.
Yeah, I'd love to talk about Ladies of Laughter and how that's changed you. And before we do that, the question that just kind of came to me was, is it being a female comedian, is it harder to get laughs? Is it different? Like how does that show up for you?
Like, I don't know if I would say it's harder to get laughs. I think like a lot of people are kind of like, all right, what's like her deal going to be? Just because there's so many more male comics and like there's a stereotype of female comics being like raunchy or like being something. So I think there's probably a little more skepticism, unfortunately, like when like a female comic is going up, but it hasn't been terrible.
Would you, if you were to describe your style of comedy, what?
It's pretty clean, I would say. It's very like self-deprecating. It's just like telling stories about myself, not raunchy. There's like some innuendos. One time, like my mom, I was doing something that was like on the it was not that inappropriate, but I was like, I got to give her a heads up. So before the show, I was like, listen, I have this new thing. It's like an innuendo. It's probably going to go over your head. I wouldn't even worry about it. And then after the show, she just came up to me. She was like, I got it. Thank you. And I was like, all right. But yeah, my style's like very self-deprecating and like story-based, just cleanish.
Yeah, cleanish. So Ladies of Laughter, tell me about it.
Yeah, Ladies of Laughter is a competition they do every other year. It's all female comics. I guess they have 3 qualifying rounds, like New Jersey, Long Island, and like Westchester. And I won the New Jersey qualifying round. And then there's a big final show, and I got runner-up. I didn't get first, but I got second. And
congratulations.
Thank you. But what has been so great is Peggy Boyce is the woman who runs it, and they do like theaters all over. And I've just gotten to do shows that are like much bigger scale. So I've done shows with them the past year and a half, and you're doing like theaters. It's been like crazy. And like, I think it was the first time I did like 20 minutes on like a big scale. And I hadn't really done 20 minutes before. And I was just like, you know what, you got this.
So how much more time, or how much, like, just help us understand 2 things. So like what a theater is, and then what is it like to go, I would assume it's massive, but how to go from 5 minutes of timing to 20 minutes timing.
Yes. I mean, I'm normally doing clubs in New York, which would be like maybe like 100 seats would be like a big one, or like bar shows that are smaller. The theaters have been like 500-700. It's just like, and it's like a real stage. So that, and then, normally I would say in New York, 10 minutes would be like a long set. Mostly you're getting like 6 to 8 minutes. The first show I did with them, I was supposed to have 15. So I was like, okay, I got this, worked on it. I felt like I had 15, but maybe not like of the strongest stuff or stuff I know that does really well. And then the day of the show, somebody backed out. So they called and said, can you do 20 minutes? And I just said yes and was like, I'll figure it out.
But you weren't like, oh shit?
I've also learned you just have to do things before you think you're ready. Yes, on the phone, I was not a problem. Got it. And then I hung up and was like, oh my God. And it's 20, it doesn't sound that crazy. 20 minutes is a long time on stage if you haven't done it before. 5 minutes starts to feel like, okay, like that now that, but 20. And it was great. I mean, I've just have learned you have to do things before you think you're ready. That's how you learn. And it's been a really good opportunity. I feel I've like grown a lot as a comic, just having like bigger venues and longer time on stage.
I love it. So you are doing this big show, and then how does it work? Do you send out like text to the family and say, hey, I'm doing the show? Or do you pick and choose when you're going to invite them?
I mean, I post most of my shows on Instagram, so they are welcome to come to any of them. The bigger ones, my parents like to come to because they're like, it's fun to see you in like this bigger venue. My mom is a saint and I did like Boston and a couple other places, and she drove to those. So it depends. Like, I mean, I've been doing it long enough now. They're not like in the beginning they would come up for like every show, and now they're like, you let us know when it's one that you think we should be at. So they're good about that.
I love it. But tell me, a couple of things. I know it sounds like real life is often your sort of main material. Are there people that you watch, or do you have some favorite comedians just in general, male and female, that you like, oh, I'm going to watch their special, or I'm going to go see them perform?
Yes. Like the bigger one, like I love Nate Bargatze. Do you know him? Yeah.
Okay.
I love him for many reasons, but he's like, he does arenas and he's not like that physical of a comic, like he's truly just telling stories, and it's so funny, which I'm not like a big like act out impressions. So I love like seeing that, because you're like, that's
isn't his timing just amazing? Like he just feels so he draws you in, and you could be in the last row and you're drawn in. Yeah.
And he's not, and it's like a dry delivery, he's like, you're on his time, he's not like, and it's very impressive. I love Rosebud Baker. She's kind of like, she's a seller comic. Heather McMahon. She's not like a traditional stand-up, and she's more physical. I do love her stuff. And then, I mean, there's so many comics in New York. And there's so many comics in New York that you're like, how are you not so famous?
Yeah. What do you think that is?
I think a lot of it is like luck. Not luck. I mean, I think there's so many talented people, but I think some people get like a break and others don't.
It feels kind of like luck. It feels like there's like this timing of luck and someone's in the room and,
Yeah,
or
100%.
to your point, you're writing a pilot. If you're not trying to write a pilot, right? Luck's not even a possibility.
Right. I think it's like a combination of like hard work, doing it, being in the right place. And it's inspiring. I mean, also like you don't need to have like a Netflix thing to be a successful comic. Like there's people do it other ways. But sometimes you're just like, sometimes it's encouraging. And then sometimes I'm like, you see someone who's like not like standardly really successful do so well. And you're like, why am I even trying?
Well, it's funny. It's funny you say that. I'm not going to name the person, but I was on Netflix last night. I was just doing some writing and I like just having noise in the background.
Mm-hmm.
And I was watching this and I'm just like, this is not funny. How in the world do they get a Netflix deal? I just don't. And those are the times where I'm just like, maybe I don't get comedy.
Yeah. Well, it's very subjective, but I feel that way a lot. Like, not like I feel like I'm better than someone, but I'm like, I'm surprised this person has a special.
Yeah. Good. That makes me feel less crazy.
No. Yeah, I could name like a lot of people offline to you.
Yeah, we won't put that on the show.
No. So yeah, I think it's just like, there's definitely a luck aspect of it. I mean, you still have to like work hard and do everything, but.
So here's a question I've always wondered, and I'd love to know your perspective on it. When you're writing your bits and you're putting together a show, like what's in your mind? Are you thinking at all about what you want people to feel when you walk off the stage? Or is that not even a consideration? Like what is your vision or hope for the audience?
I think about that for some of the stuff. Like if I'm telling I feel like a lot of my jokes are like self-deprecating and stuff, which I think like I do to like make people laugh and like feel better. There's also a part of comedy that's like feeling less alone. Like I talked about this mic we have called Yikes, and you just share like something embarrassing that happened. It sounds stupid, but then like it feels better. Like people are laughing at it and you're like, okay, like you're kind of turning something that you're embarrassed about into like making people laugh. And yeah, like when I've talked about like dating stuff on stage, sometimes like girls after will be like, oh my God, I had this horror story from the dating apps. So yeah, I think you're like, look what happened to me, like
yeah.
You're kind of like not putting yourself down, but just like doing it. And I think it makes people feel better. I'm like, well, might be having a rough night, but like I matched with my cousin on a dating app. So like things could be worse.
Did you seriously?
He came up as that's one bit I do. So yeah, I think there's an aspect to it where it's like a shared experience or like something we can all laugh about. There's some power, I think, like if you want to get deep to like turning something, taking control of it and telling it on stage that makes you feel better about something you're going through.
Yeah. No, I definitely love that aspect of it. I had, of The Moth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I had the chance to interview Peter Aguero, who was a Moth champion. And now he's often a host. And it's interesting when you hear him tell stories, the story arc is like he has this, it's funny, and then he can switch into deep pain, and then it can be funny again. And I love the power of storytelling. And this podcast is really all about the decisions we make to share ourselves, whatever that is, right? Whether it's a project or a career or whatever. And I think
sorry to cut you off.
No, you didn't.
But my favorite type of writing is like not tragedy, but like something tragic and then turning it into humor. And I accidentally joined a grief group, which is a story for another time. But I took this writing class that I thought was something else. And it turned out to be like a lot of women who had like gone through something tragic and were like writing. Anyway, I ended up loving this class. And I found like, and I feel like I'm like this in real life. Like sometimes I have a hard time being serious. Like even if I'm talking about something serious, I feel like I need to put a joke in or like make light of it. And I feel like I do that through my, it's like can't be serious for a certain amount of time. And I found that in my writing too, like even in this class, which was definitely like writing more serious and things that are going on, there would have to be a joke. But the people in the class were like, we like that. Like it's kind of like makes it a little bit lighter. So I've like leaned into that when I'm writing, like write a lot of like personal essays and stuff. And I've kept that aspect in it. It's like, okay, I can write 2 paragraphs that are like serious topic. And then I have to like have a line in there that kind of like lightens it up a bit.
Yeah. Honestly, that's probably my favorite type of comedy. It's interesting. This year just so happened that we had some people that come through that, Like Seinfeld came through. I'd never seen him. I want to see him because who knows how long he'll keep doing it. And, talk about clean bits. And I'm thinking, I've seen everything he's ever done. And he captivated me from the go. And I'm like, what a master storyteller. And then I saw Tim Allen. I thought he was going to be like hilarious. And for me, he was not. And so I was just like, interesting, the juxtaposition of the two, right? And then personally, I'd love to see Chappelle live, just because I think the way he forms the story is interesting. And then, of course, I want to see, I don't know if you've heard of, but I want to see Nancy O'Connor live.
I mean, if you can get a ticket,
it's going to be, So that's one of those things where I just find it really interesting about, people who can take, to me, like, and Nate does the same thing. He can take everyday life, like he does this bit about, he was going to meet his wife in Florida on a plane trip. And so you've probably seen it. He asks her what the information is, like when she lands and stuff. And she tells him everything other than that. And it's just the way he processes it is hilarious.
Yeah.
So good.
He's very impressive in like taking, and it's relatable. Like, I think that's why people love him so much, because they're like, yeah, exactly. But I think he must work so hard at it. Like, he makes it look so easy. Like, this is just a thought that came, but like, I'm sure he has to workshop that, to get it to seem so like effortless, which is just so impressive.
Well, and you know this better than anyone, but a lot of people think he just started doing comedy the other day, but he's been doing it forever.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what does comedy give you, this whole world that you're in, that nothing else does?
I think I don't want to say like a purpose, but like it's like I've been like busy recently and like doing more writing stuff, and someone was like, well, maybe slow down on the stand up. And I was like, my reaction to that told me like, no, like I need that. I think it's just like, it's like at the end of the day, getting up on stage and like talking about something, I can't explain it, but I just feel lighter after doing it. And it's just kind of an outlet for how you're feeling to like go and share what you're going through. And then, and if you turn it into, half the time the stuff goes nowhere, but you're like, all right, I got that off my chest. And then if you turn it into something that does well, like there's no better feeling than that.
It feels like it must be at some level therapeutic.
100%. I think most comics should be in therapy, but instead they do stand up. It is definitely therapeutic.
Okay.
Definitely. I did my master's in Ireland. I did a master's in journalism, not using it.
Seems very stereotypical, an Irish person going to Ireland, right?
Yeah. I just wanted to move to Ireland, basically. And I lived with a family it's very common there. So I lived with a family for like the first half of the year. And Maggie and George, very nice couple. Very traditional, like she did all the cooking. He would be like smoking in his office and come down and get his plate and bring it back up. Like, I think the 4 months I lived with them, I spoke 2 words to him, like never saw him. So she would make me dinner every night. But like if I had plans to go out, she would say like, just let me know. So I was going on a date. So I said to her like, oh, I don't need dinner tonight. And she was like, okay, I'm going to just make you a plate and put it in the fridge if you're hungry when you come home. And I was like, perfect. So I go out on this date. We like had dinner, we had drinks, and then it was like we went to like McDonald's at like 1 a.m. and ate a second dinner. And I came back to their house at like maybe 2 in the morning. And I opened the door, I'm like tiptoeing in, and George, the dad that I've spoken 2 words, I don't know what motivated him, but he came down and he was like, your dinner in the fridge. And I was so awkward. I didn't want to tell him. So and he took the dinner. It was like corned beef, so stereotypical, cabbage, mashed potatoes. He like poured gravy on it, put it in the microwave. So I was just sitting there at the table. God forbid I told him I've had 2 dinners already tonight on the 3rd. And like he took it out and I was sitting there like shaking, trying to get this down. And then the minute he left, I like pushed it off and was like, and I think that's the most we ever spoke. And I'm like, why tonight? Why tonight are you all of a sudden involved in the dinner?
So between then and when you left, did you and George ever have more conversation?
We had like a goodbye, like kind of like an awkward, he was very hard to understand. Like he had a very thick Cork accent. And so he'd be like, all right, no. And I'd be like, for sure, 100%.
I love it.
Yeah, that was fun.
Well,
3
Nancy,
that night.
I'm going to come see you perform. And then we're going to take a post show selfie, if that's a thing.
Of course.
We can do that, right?
I went to the Tenement Museum recently. Has anyone here gone? Yeah, it's cool. It's marketed as this museum where they preserve the conditions of the apartments that immigrants lived in when they first came to the country. And I have a lot of Irish heritage, so I was like, oh, I really want to go and like see my people's humble beginnings, see how far we've come. So I went into the apartment and I was like, this is really nice. It was a true 2-bedroom, a ton of natural light. The guide was like, let me know if you have any questions. I was like, is there a broker's fee?
Nancy, thank you. I really appreciate how honest this conversation was. You didn't try to clean it up or make it sound more certain than it is. And that's what made it work. There's something really powerful about watching someone build their voice in real time. Not waiting for the perfect moment, not waiting until everything makes sense, but choosing it anyway and letting life shape the work along the way. The way you pay attention to your family, to your roommate, to the small moments most people overlook, that's just awesome. And it's also what makes it connect. So thank you for sharing where you're at, not just where you hope it goes. And for everyone listening, thanks for being here and for taking the time and for continuing to pay attention to your own work and your own story. A huge thank you to Sleeping at Last for providing the soundtrack to our show. Ryan's music brings so much depth and beauty to these conversations. If you want more, visit sleepingatlast.com or search Sleeping at Last wherever you listen to music. And a special shout out to our audio engineer, Steve Wick, who loved this episode so much and made him think about his favorite bit.
I have a cheese shredder at home. That's a positive name for it, cheese shredder. They never call it by its negative name because no one would buy it. Sponge ruiner. Because I wanted to clean it. Now I have little bits of sponge that would melt easily over tortilla chips.
If this episode sparks something for you, leave us a rating or review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to the show. Share it with a friend, tag us, and post your favorite moment. It helps keep these stories going. Follow us on X at Design of Podcasts and visit rule29.com to learn more about the show and the people behind it. Thanks for listening. And as always, keep noticing, stay curious, and design a life that matters.